hear me and say no Kae-C, and fi know see a realist. No fakeness, no shakeness. Hey Kae-C, I hear me tell every bees look out for the wasps. Tell every creepers look out for the traitors.
London Southwest to England. Dear Mama, good day. I hope that when these few lines reach you, they may find you in the best of health. Mama, I really don't know how to tell you this, cause I did make a solemn promise to take care of little Jim and try my best to look out for him. Mama, I really did try my best, but nonetheless, me sorry to tell you, sir, poor little Jim get a rest. It was the middle of the rush hour, when everybody just a hustle and a bustle to go home for them evening shower. Me and Jim stand up waiting for a bus, not causing no fuss, when all on a sudden a police van pull up. Out jump 3 policemen, all of them carrying baton. Them walk straight up to me and Jim. One of them hold on to Jim, say him taking him in. Jim tell him to let go of him, for him not do nothing, and him not thief, not even a button. Jim start to wriggle, the police start to giggle. Mama, make I tell you what them do to Jim. Mama, make I tell you what them do to him.
I don't know if we want to know what he did to him. It is a sound of Linton Kwesi Johnson with a son called Sonny's Letter. And my guest has selected that track because she's been told that, I guess vocally, she sounds like this artist. So without keeping you in any further suspense, my guest for today is none other than Lady Loy of Lovers Rock Radio and Gold Standard Radio. Welcome to Luton Urban Radio. Is it your first time here?
Yeah, it's my first time here.
Lovely. Let me just turn you up a little bit. Let me hear you now.
Yes, it's my first time here.
Lovely, lovely. And welcome. How was your journey in?
My journey in was fine until I got to the entrance and I was blocked by a lorry that couldn't get underneath the arch. So we had to sit behind him until he reversed back out.
Oh.
So apart from that, it was pretty smooth.
Amazing. And so for the listeners who don't know who Lady Loy is, I don't even know where they would have been to not know who Lady Loy is. Would you like to introduce yourself formally?
Well, I'm Lady Loy. I'm a storyteller. I'm an advocate. I'm an influencer. I'm an artist. I'm an author. And I'm a poet, mainly.
Mainly. So there's a lot more. So what are the... If you start with the first one you went for. Storyteller. Writer. Poet. Would you consider those the same thing, or
no? Because writing is prose and poetry is rhyme. That's the way I would distinguish. When I'm saying a writer, that's when I write my books.
Mm-hmm.
But when I say I'm a poet, it tends to be more like the poetry I've released today. It ends in rhyme.
So with your writing, what one would you say is like your go-to? Would you say it's the poetry, or would you say it's the actual writing of books?
I think the instinct is poetry because it's the way I started out. I didn't know I was a poet back then, but every time I wrote something, it would end in a rhyme. And so I thought, oh, so I was a poet first and then I was a writer.
Okay, I'm just going to ask you to come a bit closer to your mic because we want to catch everything that you're saying. So when did your writing journey begin, would you say?
Started when I was 15.
Okay. And do you remember the first thing you wrote?
The first thing I wrote was Mama. It was mostly about my mother, you know, because she was the one who was around me at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of, anything that I felt, anything that I observed, because I'm very much an observer. And I tend to observe, I tend to watch human behavior. And then I'll write about it.
Okay, so can I ask you to just move over here and tell me about, as a 15-year-old, what you remember life being like, or what would you say is your standout memory as a 15?
Well, as a 15-year-old, I was more of an adult than I was a child. That's the first thing. I was quite rebellious at the time. And yeah, I was quite introverted, but I think that is because I was raised at a time when children, I'm sure you've heard this many times, children were seen and not heard. So we weren't able to express ourselves, and I felt I had a lot to say, but if I said something, I was called rude or I'm back chatting. So I fell to poetry, or I won't even call it poetry. Back then it was like a journal. So it's just a way of recording the way I felt, recording all my emotions, anything that I saw, anything that made me uncomfortable. And then, yes. So now I'm kind of revisiting those poems 50 years later and actually finding the hidden gems within them, because even though they was written 50 years ago, they're still very relevant to today.
And so when did the first book come about?
The first book came about when I returned from Jamaica, I think, it was after I returned from the United States in 2000, because I'd purchased some ISBN numbers when I was living in the United States.
For listeners that don't know what an ISB number is, what is that?
That's a publishing number. If you're a musician, in order to get payments or royalties for your records, it's called an IRSC number. Similarly with books, if you want your books to be published and get royalties for your books, you need to register it. And it's called an what did I just say?
RSC?
No, ISBN number.
That's the one.
Yeah.
So you decided you're going to write a book. How did you even know about how to register? Because there are artists out there who make music and no one in the industry says to them, if you want royalties or if you want to go back the right way, this is where you need to register, or you need your this or that. So where did you get that information from?
Well, when I was in the United States, I think somebody said to me, you need to write a book. And that was after I'd written The Other Side of Tourism. And so they kind of guided me into what to do. And after that, I just researched. I mean, in America, I think it's much easier. I was able to buy 10 ISBN numbers. I don't think I could afford an ISBN number today, but I was able to buy 10 back then.
Mm-hmm.
For a reasonable price, even though I don't know what that price was. But I'm still allowed to use those ISBN numbers even today. So that's like 30 or 40. They don't outdate. They don't go out.
So with the ISB number, you've got a package of them, let's just say, and you can keep those numbers up until the point that you want to then release a book.
Yes,
so
that's
you would
correct.
Then allocate one of those numbers to that specific book. So potentially we're looking for 10 books from Lady Loy.
Right. Well, I've done 6 already.
Wow. Okay.
So I'm working on the accompaniment to this dub album. And it's going to be Poetry's Promise Rediscovered. Because when I wrote them as a child, I was just pouring emotions on a page. I didn't know I can't say I didn't know what I was writing. Somewhere in my subconscious knew what I was writing, but I didn't understand what I was writing. I was afraid to publish what I was writing because some of my works are quite militant and political. And so I wrote just from a place of kind of just getting it out. Now looking back, I'm able to look at my poetry and think to myself, wow, this meant that. And people can misunderstanding like Mikian Tanitina England. People might think that I'm talking about being anti-England. That's not what the poem is about. But because the words Mikian Tanitina England sound like I don't, I can't stand it in England. People might think it's anti-English, but it's not. It's about the grief of a woman who's lost her husband. She's lost her child. She's penniless. She's ready to be evicted. And she's got nowhere to live. And so she's bawling out. England is just the place where all of those things happened. So that is what she's talking about. It's like if you're in a relationship and that relationship happened in a particular town, you might equate that town to not wanting to go there, to those experiences. And it's similar to her. So those two ladies that were on the bus misunderstood her and thought she was attacking England. And so they were trying to defend England and saying, look, go back to the zoo kind of thing.
So we are going to elaborate on that poem. It is one that you are releasing.
It was released yesterday.
So we've got like the whole exclusive thing going here on Luton Urban Radio Saturday Live.
And so it's on all social platforms.
It's on all social platforms. So is that released under Lady Loy or is it under?
No, it's released under Jerry D. Harris Music, who's the director of Wacky's Music in America. He's a soloist. He's a bass guitarist. He's releasing an album himself, so he's pretty up there. He's backed Dennis Brown. He's backed Sugar Minor.
Amazing.
So yes, and the backing track of this, I understand, he did it with Dean Fraser in April of this year.
Amazing.
So yes, and he's chosen that track to put to that poem.
Okay, so I feel like we've just completely catapulted right into your age 15 era. What kind of inspired you at that age and how you've revamped it to modern day? Prior to that, let's just talk about where you're from because we haven't even touched on that. So for the listeners, if we just talk about where you're from, where you were born, where you went to school, and what was happening before the age of 15.
I was born in the UK. I'm a child of the Windrush generation. My mother came over with me in her tummy, actually. So I was conceived in Jamaica, born in the UK. And it was very tough for parents back then. Some parents, they sent their children to live with aunties. Some sent them back to Jamaica because I don't think my mother realised that when the call to the UK came out, it was so that you could work. It wasn't so that you could have children. So children weren't allowed. They weren't allowed in homes, in the houses. If you had a child, you just couldn't get a room. So my mother had to conceal me for quite a long time. And then after she couldn't conceal me, she put me in a foster home it was a private foster home. I was well treated and there was stability there until she was able to buy a home for herself and she got married. And, once she felt secure and respectable in quotes, she took me back. And so then I was raised with my mother from about the age of, I think about 10. Until I was about 15.
Okay, and then that's when the creative juices started to flow. So the Mikian Tana in England poem, did your mum have any, I guess what I'm trying to say is, was that something that was inspired by her journey, or was that something that you had? Where did you get that notion from?
I was trying to think that today because my mother doesn't talk like that. My mother
No.
speaks quite posh.
Mm.
And so I don't know where it came from. A lot of my poems, I didn't know where they came from.
Mm.
They just come out of me when they're ready.
Mm-hmm.
And so that particular poem, I was trying to think, did I go on a bus and hear that conversation? No, I didn't. So I can only say it was inspired by something I don't know,
Okay.
as is most of my poems.
Okay. So 15 in school, what school did you go to?
I went to John Kelly School. Bring up the John Kelly Massive.
Northwest London.
Northwest London. Yeah, so I went to John Kelly School, which is now a private academy. I actually met a school friend of mine the other day, and she actually went there to see what it's like. She's a Ghanaian. No, she's a Nigerian. And she lives in Nigeria, and she's only come over here for a couple of months. So she actually went to all the places, including John Kelly's school. And she said she was surprised. There's gates up there now. You know, you need a code to get in. But yeah, John Kelly's school is just around the corner from where my mother lived.
Wow. And so, having left John Kelly, where did you venture to next?
Having left John Kelly, where did I venture to next? I got a job at a place in Wembley called International Life Insurance. I got booted out of school actually because
dear Lady
yes,
Loy.
I did.
What did you do to get booted out of school?
I used to hang around with the first years. I was a 40 year, and the first years kind of had me on this pedestal. And so I was kind of like a little mentor even back then. So I would hang around with them and they would ask me all these questions. But that's not the reason why I got booted out of school. When I went to school, I was the only black person in the school.
Mm.
And so my best friend was a white person, and she was one of these, I won't want to call her a reject, but she was of German descent.
Okay.
And her mother used to put a bowl on her head and cut her head around it.
Oh dear.
So she was bullied and she was mistreated. So I took her under my wing. And I didn't think anything of it. So that was from the first year to the fourth year. By the time the fourth year came, more blacks started coming into the school, black girls, because it was a girls' school.
Mm-hmm.
And they started chanting at me and bullying me for being a traitor. And they, for hanging around with white people and saying, I'm going to let you, I'm letting the side down kind of thing.
Mm.
I didn't, up until that point, I had no consciousness of my color. I didn't see myself as different. I was just who I was. They drew my attention to the fact that I was different, that I was black. And after they beat me up,
oh dear.
Yeah, they beat me up, and then I went on their side.
You went on the side of the people who beat you up?
Yeah, because I felt intimidated.
Presenter Paige is going to have the world of things to say to you in the second hour. Oh dear.
Yeah, so I felt intimidated. There was 4 of them and there was only 1 of me. But what happened in that is that because I started hanging around with those type of girls who had no interest in learning, nothing at all. It was quite disruptive for me, so my grades dropped.
Mm-hmm.
And that ultimately led to the demise of my schooling days.
So hanging out with the black girls is what catapulted I guess you said you had a little bit of naughty behavior, rebellious behavior in your younger years. Do you think that magnified it, or was that where the naughty behavior began?
Well, I think the naughty behavior began at school. Well, I shouldn't say the naughty, the rebellious, because hanging around with those girls, it kind of gave me a whole different perspective. Before, I was obedient, was quiet, I was nurturing, you know, and it just gave me a totally different perspective. And so, you know, wanting to be maybe acknowledged or seeking validation, I'm not quite sure how I was because I wasn't conscious at the time. It kind of made my behavior deteriorate. And then, of course, there was boys in the school, so they were all about that. And I remember my mother even came to the, you know, my mother was quite strict. She was so funny. Well, it wasn't funny at the time, but we'd come out of the back. We wouldn't come out of the front gate at John Kelly. They had a back gate, and that's where all the girls and boys would congregate. And I remember my mum coming and meeting me after school, dragging me by the neck, carrying me home because I was out there talking to the boys.
And this is what you don't see nowadays, which is, you know, you say it wasn't funny at the time because I'm guessing there was an element of embarrassment there, like, oh my goodness, my mum's come and draped me in front of everybody else. But equally, you knew you shouldn't be there, why you shouldn't be there. And if Pastor Carl was here, I would ask him what scripture says bad associations spoil useful habits, because that's one that I grew up with. And it just goes to show in your situation that when you were, you know, mentoring and almost supporting the year ones, and you know, they may have had you on a pedestal, but they appreciated you and you appreciated what they were giving you. Your life was very different to when you then got in with the crowd and all these other behaviors started to begin. So you came from a disciplined household.
I came from
with expectations.
Yes, my mother had very high expectations, but I think she gave up in the end.
And so that is a frustration of parents even these days. You know, at what point do you say, you know, this is just the way kids are? And I hear that a lot, but I'm not one that will ever go with that. I think, you know, once you have that mentality of that's just what kids do, or that's just how they behave, or that's, you then end up in a downward spiral, because there's always going to be a boundary that they will try and push. And before you know it, you've just completely lost any form of respect or, you know, anything that should be happening in the household.
One thing I will say, my mother said to me, Myrna, one thing I like about you, you never backchat. I was very good in the household. I wasn't rebellious in the household. When I say rebellious, I wasn't loud or anything like that. I wasn't cheeky. What I would do is, you know, Mum would say to me, look, I don't want you to do that, or you come home straight from school, and I just wouldn't. That was my rebellion, as opposed to verbally being rebellious. I was never verbally rebellious.
So that brings to mind a certain individual who used to be in your wardrobe, wearing your things and going places that they were told not to go.
Precisely. And that was around when I was about 16.
And so the certain individual I'm referring to, and if you haven't cottoned on yet, Lady Loy is actually my mother. And so the individual I'm referring to is my oldest sister, who was very well known for being out, because we lived on St. Raph's estate. Shout out to all the Northwest Londoners. Notorious for putting on my mum's, as she would call, good clothes.
And I tell you, man, mercy. Yo, what's good, my people? This is JJ Born to Sing. And whenever I'm in town, I like to spend some quality time with the one and only Dissector Selector.
As I sit by my window in Oran Paradise, doesn't that sister have such beautiful soft hair? People break their pockets for those kind of girls. As you observe your mind, roll some people's nerves. This sister has a distinctive nose, and her complexion is awesome from head to toe. the door. She has an exclusive class, a unique beauty zone. So I say, I pray you cover your own back. I pray your relationships on track. I pray you're not controlled by what others say or do. I pray you have a good life. I pray you hold your morals tight. I pray you have love for yourself, and I wish you good day. Na, 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 na. Doesn't your brother have a good-looking body frame? Gorgeous lips that the fashion world legally claims. Yeah, look at his swagger, clean and cut too. Yeah, you see that stylish bounce? You know how we do. He is older than he looks, yet his skin is still tight. Yeah, to see my people is a pleasing delight. Our melanin is strong, yes, we're regal to be black. Yeah, but many try to take us with their sinister trap. And so I say, I pray you cover your
Welcome back after the commercial break. I do apologize. We got a bit carried away in the conversation and the ad breaks jumped in before I'd finished, but we will get back into that. Underneath me now is the sounds of Rare Diamond #1 with a track called Black Beauty, out now on all digital platforms. The track is written and sung by Rare Diamond and produced from Naturalist Studio Productions. Shout out to Ivan Christie wherever you are. Big up, bless up, and one love each and every single time. So back to you. Shout out to Jerry Harris. Do we have his listening ears?
Yes, we do have
Yes,
his
we
listening
do.
ears.
Big up yourself, most definitely. Bless up and one love. Thank you for the lock in, and shout out to everybody who is locked into Luton Urban Radio right about now. It is Saturday Live. Kae-C covering for Lenny T on this sunny Saturday. We love it. We love it. So back to yourself, Lady Loy.
Yes.
Yes. So I did want to just go back a little bit because we have the other side of you, which is the visual artist, and so that actually came into play in your earlier years as well. That wasn't something that came along later. So you were still at school when you began drawing.
Yes, I was still at school when I began drawing, but I wouldn't call that drawing. What happened was I was sketching. I saw myself as a fashion designer when I was a child. And then I went back to college as a mature student and did my A levels in English literature and English language and art and the visual arts. But it wasn't until I got to before I went to America, I was painting. Once again, as with all creatives, we tend to use our talent as a therapeutic. It tends to be therapeutic. So I would dabble in oils only. So I used the oil medium. So I painted, and I had quite a few exhibitions in London, Northwest London and East London, until I went to America, and I actually had paintings exhibited in Christie's auction house, which is a prestigious auction house in New York.
Sound of the big thing. Prestigious auction house in New York.
Yes.
Amazing.
So, yeah.
And how old were you when that happened?
Well, I was an adult by that time, so I was about 29, 30.
Okay. And so, was there any recognition for your artwork prior to that point?
Oh, in the UK, yes. I mean, to be honest, I was pretty. I wouldn't say a celebrity, but in certain terms, like a local celebrity, I should say, because I had my poetry column in the Voice newspaper that was every week. I performed once with Linton Kwesi Johnson and Jean Binta Breeze in Brixton. And we also put a book together called Black I Am. I've been trying to get a copy. I've only got one copy, but I can't find it anywhere. It was published by Dorcas Howe back in the day. So back then, yes, I was considered, I think I'd reached my peak by the time I was 29. And then because of circumstances, I don't want to say beyond my control, I migrated to America and made a new beginning in America. And I stayed in America for about 11 years.
Amazing. If you do want to interact, I'm terrible with this, but if you do want to interact with myself or today's guest, Lady Loy, studio number is 07908974543. That's 07908974543. So, what age did you leave the UK and go and live in America?
I was 29.
29. That's a bold move, and it's something that I've thought of. Like, the UK for me, when I travel, it's almost like I feel like a different person. And so feeling like a different person abroad, sometimes you can want to embrace that, and you feel like, oh, I could live in a different country, or I could be, I know going on holiday isn't the same as living somewhere, but did you feel like a new person going to a different country, or was it more a case of you still being yourself, just in a different location?
I think the new person probably evolved after 5 years of living there. I think the first 2 to 3 years were tentative because I was unstable. I didn't have a proper job. I was moving from house to house, so I didn't feel secure. So I was still in the MYRNA mode, the UK MYRNA mode, which was quite a conformist, a people pleaser, and quite, I won't say timid, because I've never been timid, but I was more scared, I should say. I was more anxious. Once I got a permanent contract with the UN and I was able to feel stable, I was able to have a bank account, I was able to get a proper apartment, and I was able to go and travel. And well, when I say travel, I was able to, because I was considered as a diplomat, I had a laissez-passer, so I didn't need any, you just used to walk through the airport.
Do tell me what a laissez-passer
Yes,
is.
it's a special passport given to diplomats.
Okay.
So, when you just go through the airport, you don't go through no customs and all that stuff.
Okay.
I mean that.
I saw you go on.
Yeah, so yeah, but I didn't realize how big it was back at the time. I didn't realize how prestigious working at the UN was when I was working there. For me, it was just a job. It was just somewhere that gave me security. And when I went to America, that's the irony of it. I didn't know that you needed a green card. I didn't know that you couldn't work and all of those kind of restrictions. And so when I did some temping at one point, I managed to get a temping job. I don't know how, but I managed to get a temping job. And the guy there, one of the solicitors, he fancied me, and he said to me, "Oh, I'd like to go on a date with you." I said, "There's no point. I've only got 3 weeks left on my visa. And then I'm going to have to go back to the UK. And he said, "But if you go to the UN, they might, as long as your passport is valid, you might get a job." So that lunchtime, I walked down to the UN, which was on First Avenue. I was actually working on Fifth Avenue, so it's just 5 avenues down. I went to the UN. They gave me a test there and then, and that's why I said it was divine intervention, because that day they had lifted the ban on recruitment because there'd been a delay of staff in Namibia. And so because they'd lifted the ban, because before that day I went in, they weren't recruiting at all.
Wow.
So that day I went in, they said, oh, yes, today we've lifted the ban, just do a test. And I did a test.
What kind of test was that?
It was like maths and English and general knowledge and all that kind of stuff. But it was off the cuff.
Okay.
And I passed it.
Yeah.
Couldn't believe it. Yeah, so I passed it and they said, okay, we're going to go and take you to see the person who you'll be working with. Just like that. And when I went upstairs, I remember I had my camel coat, I had my little pearl earrings, and I was looking all very sophisticated. And the lady, I don't know which part, I think she was from Turkey. She said, oh, Mr. Constantino is going to love you. And yeah, I got a job straight away.
So you'd literally gone from having to leave the country in 3 weeks' time to having a job that you've just walked into in a lunch break.
Yes, but the only thing is that it wasn't a permanent job. It was for 3 months, 3 months, 3 months. Then it was 6 months, 6 months, then a year. Then I think the second year, it took about 3 to 4 years to get a permanent contract. But until you got a permanent contract, you couldn't open up a bank account. You couldn't do anything. So you're kind of vulnerable. You got the income, but you had to wait until I had a permanent contract.
So how were you paid if you weren't allowed to have a bank account? Question.
I'm not sure. That is a question.
Question.
Oh, we had the United Nations Credit Union.
Okay.
Yeah, so all our salaries were paid into the credit union.
And then they give it to you?
Yeah, that was like a bank, but it wasn't like a high street bank.
Well, so you couldn't have like credit cards or go out?
Yes, and all that. I think we could get credit cards, but it didn't have it couldn't give you credit worthiness.
Okay.
So the UNFCU was just for the UN staff. Whereas, in order to, maybe if you did want a loan or if you did want some recommendation, you would need to have a high street account.
You know what's interesting about this conversation, other than the fact that I'm learning things about my mother that I never knew. I knew about a lot of things, but not the finer detail. But as you know, or listeners may not know, but as you know, Lady Loy, when I go out socially, I tend to go on my own. And you've made the comment so many times, oh, I don't know how you do that. And here's you talking about just picking up yourself from the UK and going and living in a different country, finding work, an apartment, and doing all this stuff on your own. How did you... What carried you through that? Like, is there faith? Is there...
Yeah, it's definitely God. It's definitely faith. I remember saying, before I got that job, I remember saying, God, because I knew the danger if I came back to the UK, and I said, God, if I'm meant to go back, I know I will go back and face the music. But if I'm not meant to go back, please find a way for me. And almost, I think, that Friday or a couple of days later, that solicitor told me about the UN. And considering I didn't even know about the UN, I didn't know that it was a prestigious place. I didn't know anything. It was just a place to work. It was just a place to give me stability. And it was just a place I could stay 6 months at a time until I got myself stabilized. And
so for listeners who don't know, what is the UN or the United Nations? What do they do?
It's an international organization that... Well, it's a humanitarian organisation. Don't ask me about the details. I still don't know. But, I heard somebody say to me, oh, don't tell somebody you work for the UN. I'm just like, why? There's me blagging it off. But yeah, I'm not, to be honest, I worked in human resources. It was just like an ordinary admin job. I didn't know about the wider context or, and I wasn't even interested back then. I was just interested in a job. So even, back as an adult, yes, I still keep my magazines that, because I was also an editor for the United Nations magazine. I still keep the magazines, and I can find out, that they used to go on humanitarian places. And I even went on a mission to Angola. So I knew that they did that. But if I was to understand what they did apart from conventions and meet with all the countries around the world, to know the details, I didn't know.
So you just dropped in an mission to Angola very flippantly. Do tell, what was that like?
Well, that was a real breaking point, because you did say to me, how did I feel like someone different? After about 5 years, when I got stable and I realized America wasn't a place where you feel judged. It was a place where you can actually be yourself, regardless of your age. In the UK, not so much now, but back then, if you was a certain age, you couldn't wear a short skirt, you couldn't dress a certain way, you had to dress age appropriate, you had to behave in a certain way. Whereas America, it gave me an element of freedom. And so I became more confident. I became who MYRNA LOY should be, or when I say should, well, what I feel I was designed to be. In Angola, it was another situation where I moved from being this little timid person who was afraid of spiders. I'm still afraid of them now, but back there, seeing massive insects, getting in a helicopter, going over and meeting the locals and interviewing them about the local murders, and actually going on a little boat and going from one part of the island to another. And yeah, it just gave me an insight to a different part of myself that I didn't know existed.
Amazing. Out of the UK, the US, and Angola, which country do you think helps you to represent yourself the most?
America, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, because I still find England is still about conforming, still the plastic smile, even though it's not so blatant now, it's still there. You still feel, and even though racism exists in America, it's not, well, it's a bit different, because I probably weren't in the places where it exists so much. But I feel as though with America, even though England, I feel at home here. I feel as though I can navigate my way around. I feel I know how the systems work. But in America, as an individual, it allows you to be yourself to a certain degree. I wouldn't feel as though I can't say that. And, so my poems even then became more militant, more political, because there was no backlash. And even though I didn't put them out there, and I've got some really militant poems, I still knew that in England at that time, I would be frowned upon.
Okay. So it's almost like England means you need to have a cap or a censor.
Yes, definitely.
To yourself and who you are and who you represent.
Yeah.
Amazing stuff. So you lived in America for 11 years. At what point did you decide, or why 11 years? What was that point where you said, right, it's now time to go back? Or what was the reason for returning to the UK?
I always knew I didn't want to grow old in America, because I didn't like, there was something about being old in America that I didn't like. I'm not saying old in England is better, but I didn't want to come back to England when I had totally alienated myself. It took me about 10 years to acclimatize back into, get on the right level with my children, with my mum, and all of those things, and my friends. So I knew that I had to come back. But the reason why I came back was basically insecurity. I didn't realize what stability meant for me and how important it was for me. Not so much visually, but inside my spirit. And so what happened was that's why I guess sometimes I think of myself of MYRNA, know your place. I've always been in that position where step down, don't get too high. Because when I was working at the UN, I was a G4, which is like a band 4, and I decided, everybody said to me, "Oh, MYRNA, you can do that job. Go for that job for the ASG, which is the Assistant Secretary General." So I applied for the job for the ASG, and I got the job. And she was a Japanese lady, and I didn't know much about the Japanese culture. And so one of the key things about it was that you know your place. You don't speak to anybody above your station. And she was on annual leave, and one of the Japanese doctors called and asked for help. I helped him out, and he was very pleased with me. When she came back from annual leave, he commended me, and he said, "Oh, your PA or whatever I was very helpful. She helped me. I just want to show my appreciation." And after she put down the phone, she came to me and said, "How dare you speak to that doctor? Somebody at your level." And she really chastised me, and she said she couldn't work with me anymore.
Wow.
So
that is like a hierarchy thing.
Yes, it's a hierarchy thing.
And so under no circumstances, even though this person, this doctor, was happy and commended your work, do you think she felt threatened, or was that actually a hierarchy thing?
To be honest, I don't feel I was very conscious. I don't think I was conscious a lot growing up. I think I did things organically and through inspiration, but I don't think I was conscious in the true sense of the word. So I never thought about why things happened. I had this thing as everything happens for a reason, even though I didn't know what that reason was. I was very fatalistic. But what happened was with her, she when she said that, I didn't even know that the UN wouldn't sack me. I just felt insecure, and they put me into the HR department again. And I was in charge of the separation program for people who they considered were dead wood. And these were people who had been with the UN for like 20, 30 years. They were no longer contributing. They were just coming to work, doing the bare minimum, getting paid and going home. So it was my job to encourage them to go back to the Philippines, to go back to Venezuela, to go back to whichever country, with a package, with monetary compensation.
Oh, wow.
And it was quite a lot of money. And so, but it was enough for them to set up a business in their own and get themselves sorted.
Well, we need some of that here.
Yeah, so we did. So I was in charge of that. And after I kind of counseled about 14 or 15 people, I thought to myself, "MYRNA, why don't you take it?"
Oh, yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah, so I thought, well, and plus, when you take that package, they pay for all your furniture to come back.
Oh, wow.
And they pay for your flight, they pay for everything. And so I thought, you might as well take that package. And that's what I did.
So
Because I planned to come back anyway eventually. And that's what I did.
So how did you decide that was a time? Not next year, not in 6 months, like, this is the date that I'm going to do this.
I'm quite impulsive. Once I make a decision, and once I think the timing is right, because like I said, I always believe in divine intervention. I believe that I wasn't meant to stay in America. I believe that I was meant to come back. I believe that even though I was traumatized for quite a while because of my work, my unstable position at the UN, I believe that maybe it was a way, because if I had come back any other way, number one, all my lovely furniture that I've still got now after 40, 50 years,
Imagine.
I wouldn't have it, and I still keep it, and it's still good quality. So I wouldn't have been able to afford to do all of that. So it was just the way it worked, just felt as though it was right timing.
Nothing before his time. God
Yeah.
is good all the time.
He's
on
good
time.
all
I'm
the time,
telling
every
you,
time.
This has been an amazing and very enlightening conversation. Shout out to everybody who is locked in at the moment. Shout out to presenter Paige, who is in the studio and will be joining in the conversation, because there is so many similarities when I'm listening to you, the way you behaved when you were younger, your interests, things that you've done. I just see where Paige gets a lot of it from. We will be back after the ad breaks with some more music, more conversation with Lady Loy. And once again, if you want to interact, the text line number is 07908 974 543. Once again, that's 07908 974 543. We will be back after these short messages, so keep it locked to Luton Urban Radio, the pulse of the community.
Me nah no time this time to spend time with people when no worth my time. Tell them this and no one time, nor once upon a time change new time. Me Rolex I said, ya time for me put on me Gideon boot, time for me climb, and a time for me put on me spikes and shine. Time for me take back the boom boom boom. Turbulence the future, never soul from a tribe of Shaka Zulu. Dissector Kae-C, play music and set the captives free. Boom.
This is one of them tunes that gets me every single time. Back in the day when I would talk about, like, do interviews on another radio station, and I would ask the person I was interviewing, shout out to those on the personal, I'd ask the person that I'm interviewing to give me a reaction song, which is any song that makes them feel some type of way or evokes some kind of emotion in them. And every time I hear that tune, it's almost like I want to cry. I don't know what it is, but I selected it because it's called Friends. It's by Amy Stewart. And you were speaking, Lady Loy, about reconnecting with people when you came back to the UK. So we are going to talk a bit about that, but before I do, I'd like to welcome you back on the other side of the ad breaks. It is Saturday Live, Kae-C covering for Lenny T. And shout out to those who are locked in. Shout out GQ. I see you. Big up yourself, your family, Massive and crew. Shout out to all the LUR Massive. If you were tuned in from earlier on, you will be aware that Mr. B wasn't in. And so we had Pastor Carl doing wonderful praising things this morning. Came in and he was in here dancing. So we had a little bit of a jig and took some photos. So big up yourself, Pastor Carl. The energy is always real. Shout out to who we got up next. It may be... Oh, I don't want to say the wrong person. It was House on... Was it House on Miss Marvelous? It's potentially Niv and Paul or Ritty Chocolate. Either way, you will be in for a delight between the hours of 12 till 2. Following that will be my twin from another win, DJ Raf. Big up yourself, most definitely. Bless up and one love to you and your family. It is Saturday Party Vibes. That'll be followed by DJ Luxy with Luxy Sessions from 4 till 6, and from 6 till 8 we've got Soulful House Movement Show. From 8 till 10 we've got DJ Dolphin with the Caribbean Connection, and from 10 till midnight we've got Supreme no, not even London, New York to UK link up. So that's Space Supreme, and that is your lineup this Saturday on Luton Urban Radio, the pulse of the community. Back to the community and this wonderful being. Hi, Lady Loy.
Hello, everyone.
So your connections, because you've left the UK, you've gone to live in America, and I guess living in America for 11 years, you've made connections there as well. Were you able, first of all, to keep or maintain the connections made in America once you came back to the UK? And how difficult was it for you to rekindle connections that you may have not had in the UK while you was in America?
Well, I came to the UK every 6 months in order to maintain those relationships. But every time I came, it was only 2 weeks, and it was all kind of like a little party. You know, you're happy to see each other, but you're not really bonding. So I expected that it would take a long time to acclimatize myself to the UK. I didn't think it would take so long. And when I say so long, I mean people can talk to you, people can interact with you, and it can seem like it's the same relationship that you had before you left, but you can feel that it's not. You can feel that separation. So that's why I say 10 years. It's taking me 10 years for me to actually feel that people are real. If the people I'm around now are people who are real and who I sense we're back, we're back together. So yeah.
And what about the relationships created in the States? Are there people who you are still in contact with now?
Yeah, I mean, when I first came back, I was more in touch with my family. I've got family on my father's side who made my stay even easier. Because he had about 13 children. So I had brothers and sisters who kind of made that journey really stable, and it was lovely, and I kept in touch with them. More recently, we haven't been in touch so often. We set up a family group, but then I found that you put stuff in and then they don't respond, and then it kind of dies out. But yeah, I spoke to one of my sisters yesterday. She's in Florida. I speak to my sister Donna maybe about once or twice a month. I'll always put a little hi or something in the chat group, maybe once or twice a month. So yes, my friend Phyllis, who I knew from the England, I'm still in touch with her. And yes, so I do tend to maintain contact both here and there. But what I do find more now is that I used to chase friendships. Now I'm not chasing friendships anymore. I want to see any attempt that I make reciprocated. So I don't feel as though, what they say, running people down. So yeah, and I have found that my circle has got smaller, but it's much more secure and I'm much happier.
What was your turning point then? Because as you said that, it took my mind back to the situation that you had at school with these girls who were beating you up, but then you became their friends. And so where or what point did you get to in life where you were able to validate yourself and understand that it's not about acceptance of other people, it's about those who match your energy?
Surprisingly, it's taken me nearly all my life to reach that point. I think a few months ago, something happened in my life and I became a totally different person. I don't know how, but I felt more spiritual. I felt more happy with my own company. I felt as though I was being renewed and I just felt different. And that process over the last, I'd say about 6 months, has made me realize I don't need to be accepted by people. There's still old habits that die hard. But for the most part, I realize I don't need that validation. I don't need that acceptance. As I know that I'm a pure human being with good intentions. So I don't need to keep proving myself, explaining myself, which I used to do. I used to over-explain, overthink. And that's what I'm not doing now.
Okay. And so back to the journey, you return to the UK, you kind of determine I think I need to ask, so you've only discovered that side of your personal development now. So coming back from the US to the UK, were you, as you put it, running people down, people pleasing at that point to try and create or recreate connections? Or did you need time? Because I personally, I would need time to just adjust mentally to the complete change in my life. I probably need to sit in a room for about 2 weeks by myself just to try and digest what was going on. Although when you left, it was on good terms, and it wasn't like when you left the UK to go to the United States. Coming back, that was a completely different experience. So you had all your belongings that you'd acquired over the years in America. You knew what you were coming to the UK and what you could expect in the UK. You had family and friends here. But how were you, was it like calling everybody up and saying, I'm back? Or did you just take your time and allow people to see you when they saw you?
I think I have 3 or 4 friends I've had for a lifetime. And those people I would have said, I'm back. But I realized that I've always been around people and somehow people always gravitate to me. Back in the day, it was because I had parties. I was, so people knew me.
Tell me about those parties.
Oh, well, I had JB International playing. I had,
Jeez.
Roadblock
Jeez.
on St. Ralph's. And yes, I was known for my parties. I was known just for being a certain energy that attracted people. I didn't really know people. That's the funny thing. I saw somebody the other day at a dance and she said, man, I remember Chalk Hill. I'm like, Chalk Hill, that's 50 years ago. Not even 50, it's probably 60 years ago. Chalk Hill. And
it goes to show you still look exactly the same.
And I looked at her and I was trying to make out her face. But people remember me. And I'm not saying this from a place of arrogance, but I don't remember. If I remember you, it's because something significant happened and someone left an imprint. And not many people leave an imprint, but if they leave an imprint, I won't forget you and I won't forget your name and I won't forget anything about you. So even though I was surrounded by people and everybody knew me and I'd go up Harlesden High Street and say, oh, MYRNA, 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 and all of that, you know, I didn't know many people's names.
Mm.
So, so coming back, I realized that it was because I was holding parties. If I didn't hold parties, if I didn't tell people when my birthday was, nobody would remember.
Okay.
If I didn't send out good morning little chats, nobody would remember.
Mm.
Well, a few people, I must say, I've got my core group now that whether I send one out a day, they'll still send me. But I have people who I've known for years that when I came back, I would send them out all the time. And then all of a sudden, like I said, over the last 6 months, I don't send them out so regularly. And I find they don't come back. You see what I mean? So it's almost like I served as a prompt. I served as a prompt to get people together. I served as a prompt for that kind of intimacy or whatever you want to call it, or just collegial relationships.
You sound like someone else I know. Your mother or my nan.
Okay.
Because her home was very much a hub, and it didn't matter who you hadn't seen or for how long you hadn't seen them. If you go to Nanny's on a Sunday, you're gonna bump into somebody in passing, and so it's almost like you were your own type of hub for the community, and you know, people getting together. And like you say, there's so many people who knew you for that reason and other reasons that you may not remember, but you have impacted them in some way in order for them to remember you. And so although it's not a reciprocity thing, it's still that you have impacted somebody's life in a positive way, why they're remembering you, which is the same grounds that you remember people, because they've made some form of impact. Okay, so let's get back to the journey, because I feel like time is passing. And even when we had our conversation yesterday, you said, oh, how long's it going to be? And I said, as long as you like. I knew you'd be here for the whole 2 hours. I knew. So we have returned to the UK, and you've reached out to your 3 nearest, closest connections. What was that like for you? Was it emotional, or was it just jump straight in? Because my best friend, sometimes 2 months will pass, there'll be the odd message, but we don't actually see each other. But when we see each other, it's just like we spoke the day before. Was it like that, or did it take a bit more effort?
Well, to be honest, I, even though I didn't see people, I'm a communicator. So there'd be emails, there'd be texts. That wasn't totally not staying out of touch. You see what I mean? And so even when I used to write to Rachel, I used to write to her every single day about what was happening. And I remember her saying to me, and that's how my first book came about, because I remember she used to say, oh, Myrna, you're so funny. And then she said, you could write a book. She said, I'm keeping all of these letters that you've written to me, and I'm sure you could write a book. And that's how The Other Side of Tourism came about, because she did. She gave me all those letters back.
Wow.
And it helped me remember what happened, because it was almost like a diary. So, yeah. But yeah, I'd always, even though I wasn't physically seeing people, I'd be in touch by phone or by, I don't think email was prominent then, and I don't even think texts were. But maybe phone. I think there was this way of phoning cheap, or I can't remember before WhatsApp how we used to communicate. I know it was expensive, but I remember that's how I would have communicated.
And so you mentioned The Other Side of Tourism. Was that your first book?
Yeah, that was my
release?
first book.
And tell me just briefly about that and where people can get hold of that book. If
Well, you can get my books on Amazon, but that was briefly about my experience in Jamaica, where I felt like a tourist. Even while
you
I
didn't
thought,
bring Jamaica into this equation. When did Jamaica happen?
oh, when I was going to America, I used to go to Jamaica nearly, because it was near. You know what I mean? It's only kind of about 4 hours flight. So I used to go to Jamaica like once a month.
She had broke out now. So you went to Jamaica often, and so The Other Side of Tourism was you writing from what perspective?
from a British perspective, dealing with and how Jamaicans perceived me as a foreigner, even though I thought I was Jamaican in quotes. I put on the patois and do all the little bits, but it never used to quite, you know what I mean? I've actually got a poem that's coming out. Well, I don't know when Jerry's going to release it, called Dual Identity.
Okay.
But that's also, that's came out of that experience as well.
Amazing. So, Other Side of Tourism was the first book. And then when was the next one?
The next one was Poetry's Promise,
Okay.
which is what I'm revisiting, rediscovering now. This is Poetry's Teacher.
Okay. I'm like, you just need to. No,
oh, that's Poetry's. Yeah, this was Poetry's Teacher. So this one's called Poetry's Therapist Meets Poetry's Teacher. It's actually dedicated to my granddaughter who committed suicide a few years ago. But I used it as an opportunity not to just talk about, to kind of bring in all of those experiences that can make somebody reach that point if you don't have faith and if things are going against you and if you don't have that support that you need or you can't access it. So, yeah.
And that's also available on Amazon.
That's also available on Amazon.
So you mentioned 6 books. Is that one of the 6?
Yeah, this is one of the 6. I've got Poetry's Therapist Meets the Poetry's Teacher. I've got Poetry's Teacher. I've got Poetry's Promise. I've got Spirit of Queens. I've got the Other Side of Tourism. I've also got Lovers Rock More Than a Dance Floor Part 1 and Part 2.
Wow. You're going to run out of them IB, whatever them
I've
numbers
got
are.
3 left and I'm going to be using them wisely. The last one's going to be my autobiography if I live.
Oh, that would be amazing. And so with the paintings and the artwork, the visual art, how did you balance the two, or do you tend to lean more on one than the other depending on, because you described using them almost like a muse or as therapy. Do you know which one to lean on during certain times, or is it just I need to release, so I'm either going to start typing a document or I'm going to pick up a paintbrush?
Well, with painting, it was more therapeutic because when you're using oils and you're blending and you're trying to get that final, to make it look exactly how you want, it kind of takes 3 days for it to dry. So painting is more intentional. It has to be more intentional by the nature of the medium I use. Writing is spontaneous. If I have a thought, I can always write it. But with painting, when I concentrate on painting, that's all I do. And so I painted a lot while I was in America.
Okay. And you were able to bring those back with you under the package that you had?
Yes, I was.
Did you do any exhibitions or anything in America with?
Yeah. Like I said, I did the one at Christie's auction house. And there was also one called the Castillo Cultural Center. That was in New York City, a place they call the Village. So I had an exhibition there. But I think I only had... Oh, and I had one at the Jamaican consulate. I did an actual Pacific exhibit for Jamaica. It was called Jamaica Art. And all the paintings were in the Jamaican colors.
Wow.
So I did a series of about 6, and it was myself, I think somebody called Trevor Plummer, and a few other artists back in the day.
Okay. And so when would you say is the last time you picked up a paintbrush?
When I came back to the UK.
Really?
Yeah. I haven't painted since I've been back that I can... No, I tell a lie. I did. I painted when I came back in 2000, maybe in about 2004, I did a series of alien type, not alien, androgynous type images. I'm not quite sure what I was trying to represent them, but one was called My Mother, Myself. And yeah, I did a few of those androgynous pictures.
Okay. And so having come back, has any of your former art pieces been showcased or exhibited anywhere?
Yeah, they was exhibited at Luton Library twice, but that's the only place.
Okay, and what were the occasions?
Oh, and Wardown Museum.
Ooh.
Yeah, Wardown Museum. It was also exhibited there. I nearly forgot.
You nearly forgot. And so, as you mentioned, Luton Library, I myself took a trip down to Luton Library. I think it was last week because presenter Paige, my daughter and your granddaughter, is a very avid reader. I'd say a book a day. And while she was taking her books out, I turned around and I said to her, "There's your nan." So there is an exhibition at Luton Library right now.
No, it's ended last week.
Oh, it ended last week. So
Yeah.
tell me about that.
Yeah, and this is how this poem, Mikian Tanit in England, came about. The what shall I say, the rediscovering of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was approached as one of the Windrush generation, one of the elders in Luton.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was asked to go to Dallow Road Primary School, talk to the children about the Windrush. And my poem was a part of the event that they held at Luton Library on the 14th of July.
Mm-hmm.
But I couldn't go on that day. So I just sent them the poem and they put it to visuals. And I was so happy with the visuals that I sent it to Jerry Harris. And when Jerry Harris saw it, that's when he said, "Oh, this is really good. I would really like to put it to dub." And I thought, really?
Shout out Jerry Harris.
And he said yes. And the rest is history.
Wow. Well, we are going to visit that piece of history after the ad break because we have now finished another quarter. It is Saturday Live. Kae-C.
Yeah, I we that, yeah, man. I we that, man. Selector, go on with the thing. Then,
I am your son, I swear me rolling, strolling, London, Jamaica, anywhere, globally, all around the world. You don't know what Dissector Selector and I listen to, so you don't know what your piece of that, mad something, big up yourself, to the world, Kae-C.
Dissector the Selector.
Gave you so much attention, yeah. Always there for you to protect you from sadness, yeah. Wanna confess to you that I love you, girl.
This track can be found on Lover's Heartbeat album. It's Jerry Harris's latest release, so please look out for it on all social platforms.
Yeah, 'cause you had so much disappointment. You deserve a happy life. Yeah, to run never make love right. Never make things right. Too wrong, never make love right. Too wrong, never make things right. I'm gonna give.
Two wrongs most definitely don't make it right. Sounds of Jerry Harris, as Lady Loy mentioned. Let Me Give You a Happy Home is the name of the track and available on all digital platforms. This is the Saturday Live show with myself, Kae-C. covering for Lenny T. It's been a hot minute since I've been in this seat, and I actually missed seeing Mr. B on arrival because it's been a while. So Mr. B, I hope you're well and blessed wherever you are. Shout out to Lenny. I'm sure he will be back in the building next week. And yeah, keep it locked to Luton Urban Radio. We are in the final segment of Saturday Live. I have been in discussion with Lady Loy, the lady of many talents. I don't know how many pies you have your fingers in, young lady, but it's plenty, enough. So yes, thank you for your listening ears. We're going to conclude with just a bit of information about how you met Jerry Harris, and how this collaboration even came about. You mentioned a little bit previously. What I do want to do is play the track that we are talking about. So this was originally a piece of poetry written by Lady Loy, or MYRNA Loy, as you're known as well. Do you remember what year you wrote this poem?
I know it was in the 1980s, but that's all I know.
Okay, so it was written in the 1980s. That means it's the same age as me. And recently, Lady Loy, or MYRNA Loy, has collaborated with singer, songwriter, producer Jerry Harris. And this poem has been revamped, put onto an instrumental. And I'm going to give you what it sounds like right about now.
By MYRNA Loy. It's called Lord, Me Can't Turn It in England. And what that means is I can't stand it in England. So, boarding the bus the other day, a burly black woman blocked my way. Wobbling into an already delegated seat, she planted her load between two white ladies' feet. She snarled and then snorted as if ready to bore into the two women sitting each side of her. Just as the bus started pulling off, out of her mouth emanated a laugh. She then started to wheeze, and on blowing her nose, she nervously bawled out the tales of her woes. Lord, me can't turn it in England. This country a gonna bring me down. Me want to go back to me country, but not even a penny me own. Me say me can't turn it in England. Is where who no get this weather from. It kill off me husband and me one girl child, and leave me with no one to go reconcile. Them do autopsy on me one picking and certify it as cut debt. But me know say nothing don't go so. At the cold weather, take her last breath. Same way it cut me husband Claude. He would be alive now if him did back a yard. But we live way from Jamaica fi come here, and think say life would be better. But life not better, it worse. And that is why me have to curse. Them cut off me electricity this morning without so much as a warning. They make police come fi arrest me because them say the rent don't pay. No wonder them say me I turn mad, cause the people here treat me too bad. The tremor in her voice caused the sandwich to fumble, but the sizzling filling continued her grumble. Why me can't turn it in England? Me want to go back to me people them. The two women limped away from her side, obviously decided to discontinue their ride. Too bad. While they were waiting to dismount the bus, I overheard their conversation. Was she on about us? Yes, said the other. Ungrateful blacks, they come over here without clothes on their backs, using our social security to live a life of luxury, and most of them fill up our council flats. The government don't care about the likes of you and me. Us whites are the proper beneficiaries. I know most of them live off the dole. Ain't interested in working or playing their role. They go on complaining. It gets on me nerves. Have you heard about this discrimination thing? I think it's absurd. No more bar black sheep and gollywogs on jam, because these foreigners call it discrimination. Have you ever heard such a load of... They've make their beds, they've got to lie in it. Not come over here to complain about our weather. What's a bit of rain? You know what I think the government should do? Send those monkeys back to the zoo. I sat back and shook my head. They hadn't understood a word she'd said. They had translated her disorientation as an attack on their country. And so they fought back with vicious words and an unrelenting heart, that avenging scourge that permeates that part of our people, making them understand that their contribution to the economy has meant nothing to man. And this is MYRNA LOY with the poem "We Can't Tan It in England."
Wow, wow, and wow. That was absolutely remarkable. And it's a poem that I've heard many times over the years just because it was done so many years ago. But backed with the instrumental gives it a whole different flavor. Yeah. How did you feel the first time you heard what Jerry... Shout out to Jerry Harris. That was a remarkable... The mix, everything about it, where the reverb was, the little... Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How did you feel the first time you heard that?
I was so proud and I was so grateful. I was grateful to Jerry Harris because Jerry Harris, I've known him for years. I even met him, I think it was once or twice when I was living in America. So I've met him personally.
Okay.
But we've always stayed in touch, and you know, he's such a prolific artist. I think if I was to say he made an album a month, it's probably more than that, but he makes albums all the time, and he's just somebody who's so determined, and he's so dedicated, and he's God-fearing, and he's just a wonderful human being. And so he was somebody, if anybody else had approached me and said, "MYRNA, I'd like to put that poetry to dub," I would have hesitated. With him, it seemed so organic. It was so natural. It seemed like it was meant to be, that collaboration. And he said it, I said yes, and both. The two of us work very similarly. We work very, you know, all the preparation, the foundation is there. So I had the poems. He has the music, and he works so much like me. It's unbelievable. We're very, very quick. We make things look easy when it's not easy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a very, very difficult and thorough process. He's currently working on the video to accompany this.
Okay.
So that should be interesting to see what that looks like.
Do you know if that will be like an animation or will it...
I have no idea. I'm going to be surprised. He said he's going to send it to me sometime today. So yeah.
Oh, okay. So is that something that will be on YouTube?
Yes, it will be on YouTube.
Fantastic. And that poem is available on all digital platforms?
Yes, on all digital platforms.
Released yesterday?
Released yesterday.
Fantastic. Absolutely amazing. So if you would like to listen back to that poetry, or poem even, "Me Can't Tan It in Englan," spelt exactly as pronounced, MIH, me can't, CYAN, tan it inner, Englan, without the D on the end. And that is MYRNA LOY alongside Jerry Harris. And there was also Dean Fraser on the horns, I do believe.
I believe so. And some other horn players, but I only know that Dean Fraser was on there.
Fantastic. And he's actually in the UK at the moment.
Is he?
He is, because Taurus Riley, I believe, is...
oh yeah,
Reggae
we've
Land,
got
yeah.
Reggae
Reggae
Land.
Land.
Is that started?
Yeah, it's like yesterday.
I'm guessing that's why there's so many cover shows to be done, because I don't know where our DJs and selectors and presenters are right now.
Okay.
But yeah, I do believe it's Taurus Riley today, and Dean very much supports Taurus. He's actually Taurus Riley's godfather.
Oh wow.
Okay.
So yeah, fantastic stuff. So you have been blessed with this dub version of your poetry. What's next for Lady Loy, MYRNA Loy? Do tell. And then presenter Page has a question for any young budding creatives out there.
Okay, well, Joey Harris is going to be releasing another track next month. I'm not quite sure in what order, but there's one called Check for Me, and the other one is Anesthetize Racism. And so one's going to be released in September, another one in October, and the album is due to be released next year.
Wow.
We're not around
with the thing. And so that's poetry. Is there any other areas that the listeners can, or any other platforms the listeners can listen to you on? Because you do radio presentation as well.
Oh, yes. Well, you can find me on TikTok under Lady Loy or Empress Loy. Black Bright News.
Oh, we didn't even go there with the Black Bright News.
Biblical Translator. And so, yes, those three forums, they all have their own messages. Biblical Translator is what it sounds like. Black Bright News simplifies the news. And Lady Loy, I tend to talk about personal stuff. You can also find me on Lovers Rock Radio 7 till 9 every Friday. Gold Standard Radio every Saturday 7 till 9.
With the roller coaster show.
And with the roller coaster show.
International vibes.
Yes. So, yeah, I think that's about it. TikTok, YouTube, Black Bright News. Instagram, Empress Lady Loy. And, yeah, I think those are all the platforms, aren't they?
I think so. You do far more social media than me. So I'm... Yeah. Oh, Facebook.
Oh, on Facebook, yes. Lady Loy, Lady-Loy on Facebook.
Did we do Twitter? X?
Twitter, X, Lady Loy.
I think you could probably Google Lady Loy.
Yeah, you can. Yes, you can just Google Lady Loy or MYRNA Loy, MYRNA LOY, and you'll find me. And Black Bright News, which is quite informative.
Fantastic. So over to you, presenter Page. From a young person's perspective, do you feel inspired? Because we've spoken on our show, the Them and Us show, which is Luton Urban Radio, Thursday 6 till 8, and Gold Standard Radio on a Saturday from 5 till 7. But we have spoken about AI on that show specifically.
You don't want to get me started on the AI in the building, you know.
But we've touched on how it kind of sucks out the creativity that we hold within ourselves.
It sucks the life out of creatives on social media.
I beg to differ. As a creative myself.
As a creative, Lady Loy.
Yeah, I think you can use these tools. It depends on how to use these tools. If you use AI to do the work for you, if you don't challenge AI, if you don't interrogate AI, yes, it can suck out. And they've said that it can actually dumb your brain. But if you use AI as a tool to assist and just to give you ideas, it's very, very useful.
But your operative words are if and but, and in the current day and age where AI is very prevalent, people aren't using it as a tool. They're using it as a lifeboat, even, rather than a life jacket. They're not using it to assist them swimming. They're using it to stop them from drowning. So, like, people, it's hard because it's gotten to the point where things like, for example, Pinterest, which is sort of a place where us younger Gen Z creatives go to find our inspiration, has gone from a place where you can like look at and appreciate other people's art to you're looking at other people's art and being skeptical of whether it's AI or not, and whether people have the integrity to label it as being AI if it's actually AI, or saying it's their own art if it's not. And it means people don't really appreciate art for what it is because they're seeing things that are just made from AI and they think, oh, that's what art is and that's what every artist does, when it's not. And it also means if you're a budding artist and you're trying to improve your skills, it's very difficult to get yourself on the map and get yourself out there, because you're just competing with loads of AI art that you
Yeah,
might
I
think is
agree
better
with
than
the
yours.
visual art. I wasn't thinking about the visual art when I was talking about creatives. I was talking about using it like if you need support, maybe in your homework, or if you need support or advice about
But
particular
even with the
projects.
homework,
You know,
that's
but the thing is that I believe that if you can, the thing is with young people, like you say, they are going to use it as the lifeboat.
but it's
But-
not. I
But
think
as an adult, I think
I actually think it's more older people who are using it as a lifeboat rather than younger people, because a lot of the people who are in my generation and in my group of like creatives at school are like vehemently anti AI. Like,
So do you agree with the new politician who says no AI for children or no under 16? Do you agree
I would just
with
say
that?
no AI for social media. Like, I get using it to help you with something and using it to assist, like things like Grammarly, which was perfectly fine before they added AI, may I just say. When you're using it for spelling checks, if you don't have money to hire an editor, for example, and you're writing a novel, I would say using it in that way is fine. But as long as it's not doing the writing for you. But when you're using it for visual art and things like music, that's people put so much of their lives into art and music and writing, and it takes away from the amount of time that they've put in and the amount of effort and work they've put in over the whole course of their life, honing their skills and doing it the hard way, when someone can just come in and publish a piece of AI art and just take the credit for it. And another thing is that AI gets the sort of style that it uses for art from real life artists. So if you're one of those artists who's been unfortunate enough for AI to have been plugged into your art and has started to learn from you, quote unquote, then that means everybody will be looking at your art and saying, well, your art looks like AI. When it's not AI, it's just what AI is basing the art off of.
Yes,
Which
I
is why
hear you.
some people on these social media platforms like Pinterest, Instagram, even Twitter, are getting attacked basically because people are saying, oh, your art is AI, when it's not. It's their own thing, but it's been stolen from them. And it means they're having to defend themselves because of this AI situation.
But I've also noticed that a lot of the flyers now, I used to do the flyers. I used to do my flyer, and I'm not going to say I was one of the trendsetters, because of course I wasn't. But it's almost like every flyer you see out there now,
It's
they
the
look the
same.
same.
Monotonous.
So for me, I don't even want to use that anymore because
Mm.
it looks the same. Everybody's just
Mhm.
putting it in there, and yeah, there's no kind of uniqueness in the style. So yeah, I do hear what you're saying.
I think that point that Paige made about not being able to use AI on social media would really be good, because it's not then stopping people from using it to be creative or to aid creativeness, as much as I'm not for it at all. But if we have to look at, some level of balance, if people were not allowed to use it on social media, like it was banned from social media or it had some kind of block, I think people would be less inclined to use it because that's where it's used the most.
Mm.
And if you think about how influential social media is, I think the two should definitely be very separate entities.
Yeah, because if you plug AI on its own is a force. I'm not going to say a force of nature because it's not, but it's very powerful. Social media on its own is very, very powerful. And if you put them together, it's creating something that at the end of the day isn't going to be, it may start off with good intentions, but it's not going to be, it's not going to end up being good for anyone. And I say just, it's not just that it's going to be bad for the creatives or anybody who is a creative, but it's going to be bad for everybody, but it affects people who are creative more because it's sort of just, like I said, it steals like the lifeblood from creative communities, because what's the point of trying to be a creative if anything you do can be done better than by AI?
But you know something? When I've done my poem. I did my poems 50 years ago, I said, and I wrote them from a place of innocence.
Mm.
And I didn't understand what I was writing. And it's interesting because I put a couple of my poems into AI and asked for a critical analysis. And I was surprised at what they picked out that I didn't know I was writing. You see what I mean? Because I'm not a literary person in that sense. I'm not an academic in that sense. But when it brought down the academia behind the poem, I was absolutely gobsmacked. In fact, I was quite emotional because it showed me things, and that's why it's called Rediscovered, because even the poems, even though I put the poems, even though I produced those poems, I never understood and I never questioned it. I wasn't writing it from a conscious place. I was writing it from a place of emotion and feeling. And it was able to almost interpret it for me. So, yeah, I just wanted to add that where it can be an advantage.
And it's interesting because you'd be considered the older generation, Paige would be considered the younger generation, and it's almost like it's a flip. You see the advantages of AI. Paige is completely opposed to it.
It's not even that I'm completely opposed to it. I think I'm just more opposed to how people are using it, because as much as people will say if you use it as a tool, then it can be limitless, but people aren't using it as tools. And I think my generation is seeing that, because even when social media came and we got used to it, and I think I'm coming from a very creative place, but when social media came and you managed to share your artwork and get commissions and stuff, that was amazing. And then AI came and it was sort of touchy, I guess. And it's like, I can see the benefits of it in a way that you can use it, I guess, as a back and forth to sharpen yourself, but people aren't using it that way. And I think we're seeing how people, I don't think, are going to end up using it that way in the end, and it's just going to come
what
across.
you said, using AI to sharpen yourself. That is the key. If you can use it that way, which is the way I personally like to use it, then I don't see no harm. But like you say, not everybody has that. They use it as a shortcut.
Yeah, and one of my teachers told me that, yes, no?
Really quickly, Paige.
Yeah, one of my teachers told me that his aim was to use AI to get sharper than AI, if that makes sense. So that he's using it, because if AI is going to end up being able to replace him, then the only way that's not going to happen is if he gets better than it. So he's using it and sort of analyzing its patterns and what it comes back with, so that he can end up being better than it and he can keep what he does as what he does.
I like that idea. And I have said previously, it's very similar, or it's coming across very similar to when phones began doing additional things. You know, once upon a time it was you just use your phone to call and text. Now you use it as a sat nav, you use it for your shopping, you use it for everything. And so people walking around with their heads down in their phone is because you can use your phone to do everything, versus, you know, having an A to Z, which we used to have back in the day. You look and you find your page and all the rest of it. So tool sharpener, we'll go with that.
I saw somebody buy his chicken with his watch.
Sorry, what?
That is another conversation for another day. We
like
have
Apple Pay on the watch and just tap your watch at the card.
We have Richie Chocolate up in the building, who's going to entertain you for the next 2 hours. And I know with Richie, he comes in with the jokes and the one-liners, and the vibes are just real. So I'm really looking forward to that. That's a Salvation show coming up for you next, between the hours of 12 till 2.
Salvation even. Sorry, I'm salivating.
Jolly Cavalry representative, I'm a Dissector Selector, the realist. If you never got some more, even speak it. No, like, can't like.